went from being a really happy person to being a completely sad, just like, like a zombie of a person. Hey everyone, so I've been contemplating a lot on the following question. Is depression curable? Or is it something that we're just gonna have to live with for the rest of our lives? If you already know me in person, you probably know that I went through a very, very heavy depression. Not that like I told anyone, I think it was like a phase in my life where I went from being a really happy person to being a completely sad, just like, like a zombie of a person. Just a crybaby zombie. Anyway, if you're interested in hearing more about my story, anyone, be my friend. It's in my storytime videos, and I'll link those down in the description box below. It's a very detailed story time. If you're into that and you want to hear it out, shoot me a message back and be like, hey girl, like I'm going through the same thing, you're not crazy, thanks for sharing. I'll be like, yes, my life has purpose. Anyway, so I went through this very heavy depression, forced myself into therapy, and then later on forced myself to get on medication for my depression, which, as you'll see in my story time, like, medication was pretty amazing the way that it works, just with the chemicals and the science of the mind. I went through that whole thing and just like powered my way through this awful way that I was feeling and these awful thoughts I was having about myself. So it got me to the point where I did start to not just realize but really believe that, hey, I am a pretty cool person to know. I seem to interact with people well. People seem to not hate me all the time. And I started to be okay with that. Like, yeah, I'm basically I'm worthy of living my life without me having to feel like I have to live someone else's expectations. For me, that was my parents. Particularly one of my parents felt very strongly about the way that I should be living my life, and it really fucked with me, because it was like anything that I'm doing that's not his way would get him like sort of upset to the point where like it would make me feel like I was stupid for not doing it the way that he said. Because to him, like, I grew up like, oh my god, my dad's so smart, like my dad's this. Aside from the fact that my parents were separated, and I don't know if this dynamic has anything to do with it, but they were separated, and long story short, my father, looking at him now as a human being, just separate from me energetically, like completely separate from me, see that he had a lot of childhood trauma that he didn't heal. And so what was happening inevitably was that he was showing me and giving me the love that he always had imagined, which was because he grew up poor as well. His way of loving me as his daughter was to give me things like objects. Now, right, like I'm doing a lot of self-learning and healing and inner work, and I've been through so much of my personal journey, which has been internal, by the way. And let me tell you, if you are looking to change your life because you're tired of being sad, or if you're looking to like become a better person, when I tell you that shit's gonna be hard, it's gonna try you mentally. Like, you need to be prepared for everyone around you to judge you even more harshly now. And I'll tell you why. Because when you're unhappy, when you're depressed, it's usually, in my experience, associated with the fact that you're trying to live by someone else's standards and you're trying to make someone else happy. So, when you decide to finally take the reins back of your life and just drop everybody's heavy shit that you're carrying in this backpack of yours. It's heavy. And you decide to start living a life that you envisioned for yourself. When you decide to finally start to work on yourself, this is what happens. And you guys might see my movies. Okay, I'll cover them up. Please don't report me for this. Oh, you little children. What happens is you're full of energy. More when you're a giver, more when you're an empath. If you don't know what that is, YouTube it or Google it. If you're watching this and you've been through some sort of depression, I can almost guarantee that you're an empath. I can almost guarantee you're feeling way too much right now. And you're unable to handle it all. And it's all mumble jumbled in your head and you're about to just like, if I could just go to sleep forever, then everything will go away. No, that's not how it works. Okay? Just saying. You're like this energy. I know we've taken like a huge sidestep from where we were going, talking about if depression is curable or not, but this is part of the story. So I will put a timestamp to like a continuation of this side rant, if that makes any sense. Okay. It usually happens when we're younger or in our formative years that we're taught to distribute our energy to the people around us. And people around us start sort of energetically fighting or trying to manipulate our energy, like fighting for our energy to come towards them, or trying to manipulate it in a way for them to receive some of it. And again, I'm not saying that it's a conscious thing that they're doing. It's a subconscious thing, you know, because we're all healing. At least our souls all want to heal. That's part of the deal for us to have balance, for our spiritual side to match our physical. So to balance with a symbiotic relationship. Like, I believe that's like when two things are like working together like equally. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Someone has made you feel that it's your responsibility to give them your energy, and they have not only deceived themselves into thinking this, but they have also convinced you that it's their right to not only ask but get your energy. So if you're going to embark on this process, be prepared for the pushback. As soon as you start removing your energy, and that's if you don't cut them off completely, honey, because I have cut some people off. I haven't cut them off permanently, like maybe family members. I haven't completely blocked the idea that I'll ever have, you know, some sort of relationship with them. But for the moment now, they're completely energetically cut off, because they're the people essentially that instilled these false ideas in my mind, if you will. So the feelings that I have and the thoughts that I have about me not being worthy of the things that I want, of me not being capable because I'm not smart enough, I don't look a certain way, or I don't speak or act a certain way. Until I not only do that inner work, but really process it and then feel finally healed with that wound, you know, that relates to them, then perhaps I'll open those doors again. Why not? You know, I don't look to be angry at anyone. I never look to be resentful on purpose, hold grudges. No. Pisces club. Woot woot. Yeah, be prepared for that pushback on their end. You're gonna get it. It's gonna feel like they're kicking you harder than they've ever kicked you. I mean it more in a psychological, emotional abuse type of way. Which do you think is worse, physical or emotional? But yeah, they're gonna be really angry, and I think that's a sign, actually. So I think it's a pretty cool test, and I know I did this on purpose when I first started. Actually, no, I didn't do it on purpose at first. When I was exiting my depression and deciding to take a stand for myself. I didn't intentionally like test it out to see who would get mad and who wouldn't. I did do it like later on in my life, like through a different cycle. When I decided to cut certain people out of my life, I started noticing how people reacted towards it. The first type of person would be the one who would just like be like, okay, like I don't care. And then the second type of person would get really angry to the point where they're cussing you out, or just getting really mean and getting really rude. So sorry if you guys hear a helicopter, it's just anyways, yeah, they're gonna get pretty mad. So later on, once you feel comfortable cutting people off, recognizing that they're just draining your energy and they're manipulating you into it. So going back, can depression be cured, or are we gonna live with this for the rest of our lives? I had been on this real like high, like I love myself, I am so worthy of a beautiful life. And then as soon as life started trying me, the universe will try you in so many different ways. Like feeling physically fatigued, like it'll kind of put your mind against your like kind of not against your spirit, but it'll kind of, it will challenge them into creating that symbiosis, that sort of mesh and workflow together. Spirit might have you have to work like crazy hours a week, for example. You're physically exhausted, right? That physical exhaustion can trigger in your mental space thoughts. So let me see if I'm explaining myself. Spirit can challenge you. Like, I challenge you to see if you can balance these two energies. Go. So you have your physical energy and you have your spiritual self, and you're trying to get them to work together. It's like a dance. I was gonna say like boxing, but you don't want them to like fight each other. You want them to like be cool with each other and like love each other. It's kind of weird, but anyway. So you have a lot on your plate. You're doing more than you can physically handle. Like you're physically exhausted, right? Whatever sort of activities soothe you and allow you that rest and recuperation of the energy that you've used up throughout the day or whatever those activities are, when you're physically overworked and you're literally doing so many things a day, you're not going to have time for yourself. The physical exhaustion can turn into mental exhaustion from stress of not having any way to relieve that stress. You're not allowing yourself that rest and recuperation because you're so busy. From the mental stress, that's going to transfer. This is where it's important, because this is what everyone is talking about. Everyone in this spiritual space, everyone who is trying to ascend to higher levels spiritually and understands that we have a purpose here and that we have a path, but we have to create some sort of balance between our physical body and the spirit in order for this to like click and be like, ha. Your thoughts and your spirit are connected. Oh my God, I just literally had like a revelation. So, human body here. You're really overworked, you're tired physically, which doesn't allow you, right? Because again, you're just focusing your energy on being overworking yourself physically, right? You're not balanced. It doesn't leave you time for yourself. It doesn't leave you any time to release that stress, that tension physically. So that converts and it channels into the mental space. Because you're stressed out about not being able to release that tension, now in your mind, right? Because we overthink and take one little thing to like the moon, and it's like, how did you get there? I mean, that's what we do. We overthink things, and we've just got to catch ourselves when we're doing it. Essentially, what's going to happen is that you're going to connect physical stress. Like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Like, I'm so tired. I shouldn't be working this hard. Why do I have this kind of job? Like, this is the only job I'm ever going to be able to get. You start to really doubt yourself, right? You could have been in this moment of like, I'm so sure of myself. I love myself. I deserve great things. And physical exhaustion comes, and now you're overthinking. You start doubting yourself, right? Because you're not giving yourself that outlet to release, that creative outlet even. That makes much more sense to me. Even something like physical stress, it'll lead me into like this mental space of questioning where I am in my journey at this moment. And that is a gateway drug into your fucking depression. Because you start questioning your divine journey. You start questioning divine timing at that point. You've got to trust your journey. You've got to trust your path. Who's at the top of the mountain, right? And who's at the bottom? Like, your highest self is trying to tell you where to go. Start living your life in such a different way that spiritually your sights are no longer set here, horizontally. Because this is the earthly plane. And if your sights spiritually are always set up, you're always being guided. And that leads to you not feeling lost. But it takes such a surrender of our ego, of our pride. And our ego is like, I know better than you. Like, literally, their spirit. They're like above you, around you. See things that you in your lonesome physical self can't see. You see how like your thoughts become like feelings really quick if you let them? If you allow your thoughts to become feelings, they will. That's some work that you can do. That's something to aspire to, is being able to catch your thoughts before they turn into like fucking oblivion. And then you're just like, oh, you could do that. And let me tell you that you're so happy to go back in there. Like, this is comfortable. I'm just gonna like sad girl it on the way down. Like, play the Smiths while I cry on your floor. And they're done that. And, you know, we want to like cool girl the sad girl, but I mean, inside she's not feeling cool. Okay, let me just tell you. Inside she's feeling sad. The girl is sad, like, literally. I don't want to get back to that, you know? It sounds like a good idea when I'm having these really stressful thoughts because it's an escape for me. It's a comfort zone that I would go back to, that lower spiritual level. But my spirit has developed and matured so much more since that version of itself. And so for me to allow these thoughts to bring my space and my energy back down to this level, when my higher self is like, listen to me. That's not fun, you know? Anyway, as spirit challenged me physically and emotionally, even with some people in my life, I started to become physically exhausted and mentally exhausted, and then translating those thoughts into steps that would lead back to my depression. So that's where this thought hit me, was like, what? Like, you really thought that depression could be beat, but right now you're noticing and you're feeling, right? Because I feel as though I've come to that maturation in my spiritual growth and in my spirit to recognize when my spirit is shifting out of its like really balanced, very positive, very like optimistic, sort of high vibrational space. Anyway, now I'm actually practicing stopping myself. It can be hard to even recognize at what point, like it just happens so fast. But once you start doing the inner work and you really start believing that you can change, like, it's really cool. Like, notice those shifts and you're like, not today, Satan. That sort of thing. Not today. Medea with like the frying pan. Well, pour like the po when she poured like the hot grits on him. No, that wasn't Medea. Lisa, the sister. Long story short, I now don't think that it can be cured. I'm not saying it can't. I'm just saying that I don't believe that's the only option for the after effects of your depression. I believe that our depression can show us, almost in an incredibly blunt way, the parts of ourself that need healing ASAP. Maybe that's the truest test. I'm going to make you carry all of these heavy things because I know you can carry them. And if you just work through and push through, you're going to find a way, have everything that you've ever wanted. Think about the possibility that your depression could come back. Something could trigger feelings that you had while you were depressed. It's like muscle memory almost. Remember how comfortable, because it was comfortable to an extent, your depression. And I was listening to Jen Shinchero's book. It's a story you've been telling yourself because you're comfortable there. And remember, your depression, you know, you feel that pull to change, to become different. And you do. Sometimes the depression forces you to make that choice. Literally, like you're coming to a crossroads and you're like, do I end it all here? Or do I fucking just take a gamble on myself? If that means physically removing myself and purposely trying to heal, that's what I'm gonna fucking do. All you'll know is that you had a choice at that point. You've never had to make this choice before, to confront all of that hurt that's like seemingly overpowering you right now. Seemingly, because again, it's all in our minds. As soon as you decide that you have worth and you have value and you are your own person, what other people think about you is none of your business. Stay aware, stay conscious. If you are feeling depressed, if you are feeling like maybe this is it, I'm out of here, I challenge you. You're at this crossroads. You do have a choice here. It's important to talk to someone about that, to go to therapy and talk to someone. I know it's hard right now in this digital age. And honestly, if you have no one to talk to, like, message me, like, I'll talk to you. So plain and simple, don't allow that to happen. Don't let these tests of the world allow you to like convert your thoughts into bad feelings. And this is why I started even asking the question, like, can depression be cured, or is it something we're just going to live with? Because I would have bet money when I was in that sort of like, yes mode. I could have bet money that depression could be cured because I was so happy. But when things started trying my spirit, the symbiotic relationship that I should be having within myself, remember that? So when they started trying my balance and challenging it, it can really get to the point of reminding us that, maybe like I'm not as healed as I thought I was. Maybe I haven't gotten to the ultimate me that I can be. You know, there's so much more spiritual work. Or is it just repeating work? You know, are there cycles? What are the cycles? How do I close them? What type of inner work is it going to take for me to close these particular cycles? Like, it just goes on and on and on, which is awesome because we're always growing we're always growing if we decide to go ahead, learn the lesson, and do exactly that. Close the cycle. Learn the lesson, close the cycle. So, yeah, you know,